What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. I hope you guys are up for a great week. We have literally 7 days. Would it be 6 or 7 days till Christmas? Next Monday, we'll all be getting up and, enjoying the Christmas spirit, hanging out with our families and everything. So we probably won't be doing a live next week. But this week, I've got something exciting for you. I think it's exciting. And something that I've really noticed recently is that a lot of people, some of the things I'm sharing with them are a real wake-up call. And so that's what today's topic is about, the photographer's wake-up call, why your social media isn't generating leads. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So buckle up and hold on, because that's what we're doing. But before we do that, let's jump in and do a quick introduction. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my focus. I created the Seven Figure Photographer to share my journey to seven figures and to help others find their way too.
That's amazing.
All right, so like I said, today we are going to talk about the photographer's wake-up call, why your social media isn't generating leads. And honestly, I think this is an amazing topic, something I don't know why I've never really talked about it, maybe because sometimes I hate social media, but there's a lot to unpack here and share here today, so that's what we're going to do. For those of you who are joining us via the link that you were sent to your phone, or even the link from Facebook, make sure that you click the button that says open an app and comment. Let us know where you're watching from or who you are. We always love to see who's hanging out with us. So make sure to comment. And like I said, if you can't figure out how to comment, hit the button that says open an app and go into the YouTube app. This is broadcast on YouTube. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, that's obviously you can comment in there. So we're going to jump right in and kind of talk about those things. And what I've done is I've kind of just compiled a couple of different things that I want to share with you about this today. First and foremost, why it's so important to make sure that our social media in our photography business is targeted. I think all too often, all we pay attention to is just the number of followers. And then many of us are just focused on getting something up on social media, and we're not really paying attention to the value or what it's actually doing, if it's actually making any impact or doing what it needs to be. So do you ever take a minute to consider what your social media is really doing for you, or if it's working for you, or if you're just working for it? I like to think of it like this, and this happens to me a lot, which is probably should be a good indicator that I'm off based on something. But have you ever told a story to a group of friends, or been in a group environment where you're telling a story and all of a sudden somebody else starts talking that might be maybe a little more interesting, or maybe they just have more voice, maybe they have more excitement about what they're sharing, and all of a sudden you're still sitting there telling your story to this group of people and nobody's paying attention to you? Well, I think that that's commonly what happens with social media. We just kind of get into our element, we're just sharing stuff, and nobody's really even paying attention to what we're sharing. Now, on the vice versa, or the flip side of that, there's many of you guys out there who have a commanding attention on social media, yet you're not using it for what you should be using it for. And we're going to talk about that coming up. But if you feel like you're just sharing a story and nobody's listening, that's possibly because they're not. And I can tell you it's a really awkward feeling. It's uncomfortable, and it's almost kind of offensive. But when you really dive in and you think about it, like, it's really nobody else's fault but your own. And so how can you really kind of take that and make it work for you? Now, as photographers, I always kind of I liken it to surfing, just because I'm going to use the terminology of surfing or riding the wave. Many of us catch a point in social media where we either match a trend or we reach the right people, or maybe not even the right people, but we reach a demographic of people and we generate this kind of momentum. And it's much like riding a surfboard. You know, you get all the surfers that go out and hang out in the deep water where the waves are coming in, and they all just sit there and they wait for the wave. Okay. Many of them get up and start surfing or get up and kind of paddle trying to catch the wave, and the wave dies off really quick. And many of them actually catch a big wave and they ride it out until the wave is kind of just gone. And then at that point, like, what do you do? Well, all too often, I think many of us find ourselves, we've ridden the wave and we've actually kind of fallen off the surfboard and we're just sitting around waiting for things to happen, instead of turning around, paddling back out, and catching another wave. And I see this so much in social media, myself especially, is that we have a tendency to ride the wave. But then when the wave is over, we're still kind of sharing our social media or sharing our content with no audience. Like, there's just not anybody there paying attention to what we're sharing. And so we've ridden the wave. Or the other aspect to this is that we're actually sharing it to an old audience. And that's really where it can hurt us. And this is something that I've seen significantly in my business. And I'm going to talk about how to identify these things and really how to understand like where we're at and what we need to change. So I think that it's important to dive in and understand what your current social media reach is. And I'm going to do, I always hate doing this, the math. I've written it out, so hopefully I get it right. But mathing is never my strong suit when I'm doing a live, and so we're going to go for it. Why not do it again? So let's just consider what your reach is on all the social medias. Now, something to consider, I hear this from a lot of people. It's like a lot of people are like, well, do I really need to get into to TikTok? Do I really need to do this? Do I really need to be on Twitter or X? And they're for the person that asked me this the other day, I apologize, but it's something that I am going to say is somewhat laughable. You really, really need to consider these things. Imagine having a resource to share you or a place to put up your sign, and you just don't do it, especially a free, no rent location to put up your sign. Okay. If you build a business and you don't put up a sign, then that's kind of the same as staying away from TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, which kind of sucks. It's hard because you really have to consider the fact that you have to be on top of all of it. Now, some of the things to consider about these different platforms is, do they hit the mark, or are they hitting the target demographic that you need? Now, obviously, in Instagram, you can have kind of two different demographics because parents are there, seniors are there. Now, if you're not a senior photographer, I apologize, but this can have everything to do with you as well. Maybe, obviously, how your demographic is, as long as you understand who your target or your avatar is, you can kind of determine where they're going to be at. And many of them will be on these different platforms. Some of them might just be heavier in different portions of the platform or in different platforms. Clint, what's up, and welcome. So what I'm going to do is I want you to consider this. Take a piece of paper and write down each of the platforms that you have some sort of account with. We'll just say some sort of what would be the word, accessibility, or you're using that platform. If you're using the platform at all, I want you to do this exercise. So take a piece of paper and write out Instagram. How many followers do you have on Instagram? Okay, so I'm gonna give it a round number of 5,000. Now, how many followers do you have for your business page on Facebook? And honestly, you could use really like your personal Facebook followers or friends as well. But I want you to write each of these down. Now, Pinterest, how many followers or people do you have on Pinterest? We're going to use X, LinkedIn, all these different sources. Now, realistically, If you are a senior portrait photographer, a platform like LinkedIn may not be viable, but at the same time, it could be very viable if you know how to use it for that purpose. Maybe you're just trying to reach a different demographic, like, for instance, professionals who are parents as well. That would be a good place to reach them on Pinterest. It may not be the best place, but it's still a viable option. So if we take all of these numbers and let's say that everything there equals 20,000 followers, okay? 20,000 people is your social reach. Now, how many of those people are actually engaging in all of that? 10% is probably a good range. If you're at 20%, that's possibly a little higher than average. But a realistic breakdown is like the 10 or like 30% of the 30%. So if you take 20,000, I'm going to have to do the math on the calculator here. Let's go 20,000 divided by 3 is 6,666 divided by 3. So realistically, out of 20,000 people, it breaks down to about 10%. 2,222 people are your engaged or actually listening, kind of listening. That's like your high active engagement. Okay, if you're doing better than this, high five. I give you applause. But of those people that are listening or paying attention or engaging with you and your content, are they the right people? Okay, so that's the big question. If you have a following of 20,000 people across all of these platforms, and only 2,000 or 10% of them are actually engaged or paying attention to your content, which it could be on Instagram, it could be parents, it could be past seniors, it could be whatever it could be, but only 2,000 of them. That means that all of your marketing efforts and your social media content, everything is really falling deftly on 18,000 people. So there's a couple of things that you can do to really kind of consider what can increase that engagement. We're going to talk about that soon. But who are the people that are paying attention to your social media? Are they past clients? For me, one of the things that I've noticed, and if you dive into the analytics of any one of these platforms, you typically can see or identify, and when I say analytics, I'm talking about the insights. You can typically see over the past 90 days who your demographic is. Is it mostly men or is it women? Now, this is an exercise that I've been working on, is identifying like really who your target avatar is. And one thing that I never actually did was identify or dive deeper into my demographic and to identify, is it specifically just female or is it just male? Who is that demographic? Now, realistically, I think that when it comes down to it, my demographic is female. It's moms. Oftentimes, we're thinking that it's the seniors, and I think that that's one of those things where we have kind of a big disconnect. But ultimately, if you're tailoring your social media on Instagram to seniors, then it might be best done for that, and you have two target audiences, which is very common in the senior market, I think, or I believe, I know. So if you dive into not only the gender, the age is a really good one to identify, because you know that if your target market for parents is 35 to 45 and female, how many of those people are actually engaging on your social media that fit within your target demographic? And if they are not, then you have a disconnect. So for instance, if you look at my social media on Instagram, the majority of my followers are going to fall into that 18 to 24 or 25 to 30, I think it was. I can't remember the number. Now, what I've noticed is that a lot of those people that fall into that category of that 18 to 24, now, because a lot of times you have to, like, they won't actually count the demographics for the lower. So if you do have more in that 18 to 24, it might actually, it's going to be a little bit skewed, but it's going to give you some good idea of where you're at. Now, if your target is specifically 25 to 35-year-old women and yours is showing men 18 to 24, then who are you really targeting? And are you giving the content that really drives that concept? And so one thing, like I said, one thing I noticed is that for a long time, I rode the wave, and my demographic or my market, according to Instagram, was past seniors. And so all of my work, all my effort that I thought I was making, all the social media posts that I was making were falling on the ears of these people who really had no value in my target demographic. So we need to realign and we need to adjust to make that work. So now you jump into something like TikTok. You can look at these same aspects or same insights. For me on TikTok, when I first started TikTok, I had a post that went kind of marginally viral. It got, and I say marginally because it didn't even break a million views, but it was to the wrong demographic. It was a comedy thing that was gross and not inappropriate, but just gross. It was about 2020 and the toilet paper thing. If you want to go watch it, you can watch it. But the one thing that I've noticed is that on TikTok, the majority of my followers are men. And so as I create new content for that, I watch it to see if my demographic is changing or if the people that I'm engaging with is changing based on the content that I'm sharing. And so those are good things to understand when you're working with your social media. I don't want you to feel like you got to get, well, you do. You've got to become connected to what you're doing with social media instead of just posting. So a couple of the strategies that I would suggest, and I know I've only covered really Instagram and TikTok. You can do these same things for Facebook, but understand you have different people on Facebook. And oftentimes, I noticed that over the past years, the one place that we have failed significantly is social media for Facebook. And so I'm not even reaching out to my demographic or my target market that includes my purchasers, which are moms. And so something to consider if you're feeling like everything you're doing is just falling on deaf ears or it's just not working, those are things to consider. Look at those analytics or those insights and identify, is the content you're putting out correct? Is it going to the right target audience? Is it on the right platform? You can make all the platforms work. You just have to do it right. So a couple of the things that I want, some strategies to help you expand your social media reach are these things. Number one, make sure that you have a way to attract those clients to your list. So all too often, I see this with photographers where they are doing all the right things on social media. They have the engagement, but they have zero call to action outside of, hey, book a session, and no real paved pathway or no real pathway for how people can take advantage of that. Now, you've probably all heard this, the concept of what if Instagram shut down tomorrow? What if TikTok shut down tomorrow? What if Facebook shut down tomorrow? What would you do? If that is your primary source of communication with your target market, it's not very refined, because if you're only getting 2,000 of those 20,000 people, you're missing out. Now imagine if you were able to complete or compile a list that you owned that was on your own CRM, where you had their name, phone number, and email address. You can market to those people without the need for those social media resources. Now, also beyond that, you can actually nurture those people and lead them along a journey that helps them to recognize the need for your services. So make sure that you have a link page on your social media platforms. And those link pages can link to resources, valuable resources through lead magnets, You can do giveaways, all sorts of different things. That's not the goal here, is not to really get into that, but those are the things that you need. Lead magnets allow you to take from social media and to build your list online, or not online, but in your own, that is your own. So also make sure that in your social media that you're asking engaging questions that are specific to your target market or to your avatar. Now, one thing that I've been playing with lately, and something that I want you to keep in mind, the thought here is that we have a social media following, we have a circle of influence, but if we're constantly advertising, marketing, pushing our product to this circle of influence, and that's all we're doing it to, it gets boring. And people are in the room and they're having a conversation. And when I say in a room, on a platform, they're having a conversation, and you're saying to the same people, hey, it's Sam, come use me for senior pictures. And people start to tune it out. So being able to find the people that are interested and get them onto your own list and be able to nurture them to where they do pay attention to the times that you say, hey, it's Sam, I take senior pictures, would you like my services? So the other aspect is using hashtags. Now, I know this is kind of one of those things that's like, it's almost a thing of the past. At the same time, some of the research I was doing the other day is I noticed that you can actually see what hashtags people are subscribed to, especially on Instagram. And so really it gives you an opportunity, as long as you're properly using these hashtags, to get into the right places. People who are not a part of your social circle, who are outside of your circle, have a better chance of seeing these things based on the hashtags that they're subscribed to. So find somebody that is in your target demographic or your target market, or is your avatar. Maybe it's your favorite client or your VIP list, and go look at the hashtags they follow. And then start tagging those hashtags that are relevant to your business, and use that as a way for free engagement or free growth on social media. Now, that's the big thing here. What are you doing to grow your social media? What are you doing to actually increase it, rather than just sell the same thing to the same people on a regular basis, every day, day in and day out? Now, the other aspect to this is, when you are posting on social media, what are you sharing? Are you just posting pretty pictures? Because that's a lot of times what I do. Many of us don't understand the importance of having the different pillars of our social media. So for instance, like, what are your pillars in social media? 3 to 5 different things that are what you share on social media. Maybe family is one of them. Maybe comedy is another. Pretty pictures is obviously one. Behind the scenes could be one. Maybe it has nothing to do with what your business is, but determine what those pillars are. I was watching a video from somebody that worked on the Red Bull social media team, which there is a very large, vast amount of people that work on that team. And they said that their number one rule was that they didn't sell, and they didn't sell the product. They entertain. So let that sink in. One of the largest brands in the world, they don't sell their product. They don't post pretty pictures of their product. They allow their product to be in their social media that they use for entertaining, meaning like the Red Bull Rampage and different Red Bull events that they do, and different lifestyles and elements of that. So what are you doing? I think it was Gary Vee said something about social media for restaurants. Like, if a restaurant just posts a pretty picture of food, what is that going to do to increase or encourage engagement for people that are paying attention to their social media? Whereas I look at something like, we'll use Nathan Loker for an example. He has a seasoning business that is called Holy Smokers Rub Company. And if you go onto his social media, it makes you hungry, but it shows different things of him making specific things. And the product is actually somewhat on the back portion of that, or just an add-in portion of that, showing what he's using to make these different things and what can make them better. Now, there's a classic example of doing the right thing, but not having the outside elements that bring it all in together and that nurture the clients to the point of purchasing. Now, maybe he does have all that in place. I'm just simply saying that that's one of those elements where social media is working for you, but are you utilizing what you're getting from social media and actually using it to build and nurture and create new leads and new clients? The vice versa is what many of us are doing. We are trying to post on social media. We're not getting engagement. We're not getting growth. But yet we might have the elements to the side, or the nurture sequences and our lead magnets that build it, but we're not doing the right things on social media. So people care to see what you're doing. They care about who you are as an individual and how you make them feel. None of them care about who you are. They all care about how you make them feel. And so those are all elements to consider and to think about. Now, I want you to think about some things that, steps that you can do to take your social media strategy to the next step. And those are things like looking at all of these insights, identifying who is the target that you're reaching on your social media. What can you do to take it beyond that aspect of your business? Like, how can you utilize social media to generate leads instead of just using social media to be aware? Because that is the goal, is we want people to be aware of our product, yet we need to encourage or cultivate the aspects that happen after that. And that is the lead, like generating the leads, nurturing the leads, creating your own list of people from your social media, because that's what allows us to identify what we're doing, or not just identify what we're doing, but it allows us to take the engagement and build it into a nurturing system, or build it into a system that actually takes care of the leads. So understand, your social media is just one of the stepping stones, but oftentimes I think that many of us as photographers, that stepping stone is too far out there in the middle of the pond. And so we can't even reach the stepping stone from the edge, and we certainly can't get past the stepping stone because we have no stones in between that utilize the service or the platform like it can be utilized. So the wake-up call is simply understand your social media is just a stepping stone. But are you using it to generate leads? Are you actually actively generating leads with your social media? And what are you doing with those leads? What are you doing to actually cultivate the people that are on your social media? Just think it a little bit further. Take it a little bit more. What could you do to engage these people? I've talked to a lot of photographers who have tried the concept of a lead magnet. It's something that I think is so much deeper than you might understand. There are so many more elements to a lead magnet. It's not just a what to wear guide for your clients. It's actually for you to generate leads, to get people's information. But then once you have their information or you have their attention, if you're not doing anything else to move them in the right direction, then all you have is attention that is going to shortly die. So consider those things. Are there any questions about this? I hope that I did this justice. I feel like the overall arching goal here is to explain that I hope you guys see that your social media is a very viable option, but are you servicing, or are you engaging with the right demographic? Are you engaging with the right target? Are you even engaging, or are you just posting pretty pictures or pretty fun behind the scenes? Are you using it as an opportunity to grow? Are you reaching outside of what your current demographic or what your current following is? How many of you look at it as an opportunity every week to grow your following on social media? Because those new people coming in are the people that should take the bait, and you can take them and cultivate them into aware customers that are aware that they have a need for the service that you offer, and that you can then take and close them through follow-up. And that's one of those things that's really challenging. A lot of people miss that aspect of the business. You have to follow up with the people that you, well, first you have to actually engage. You have to build that relationship and engage with them. And that can all be automated through your email marketing, through your drip campaigns or nurture sequences. And if you have questions about that, reach out to me, because that's what we want to help you with, is automating that process so that you can really grow that following, but not just grow it on social media, grow it in your list of clients that you can nurture and that you can build. Because it's really about just creating as much awareness as you can, but then actually converting that awareness. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. I can keep it open for just a couple seconds more. I think that's pretty much all. I actually did it within 31 minutes today, so that's a lot better. For those of you who want to learn something about how to create lead magnets and how to utilize a service that works for that, we have Leads Pro, which we're going to do a Leads Pro open office here coming up in 30 minutes. If you have a question or send me a message, I'll send you a link to it. It's also in the Facebook group. And it's just an open office. It's an opportunity to come see it, demo it, get support, whatever. It is a CRM service that will blow your mind, and it is so incredibly capable. It can help your business wherever you're at in business, but it can also help your business grow without having to add a ton of extra expense. So come check it out. And that is next at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 3 p.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Central or noon Pacific, all the fun things. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It was fun hanging out with you, and Merry Christmas. I won't see you next week. I will, however, be on the 7-Figure group in Facebook. So if you have questions, feel free to send me a message there. Other than that, I will see you. Well, I may not see you till after the first of the year, because we have, following that, we have New Year's. I might do it anyway. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Peace out, Girl Scout.
What?